Oh, correct. So in here? Yeah. Oh, good.
All right, I've got 10 o'clock, so let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and start off with the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's move on to item number 3 on the agenda, considerations and approval. Does anybody have anything they would like to add to the agenda or anything that they would like to reiterate?
I would like to add to new business 9.6, Fawn Meadows feasibility report and joint work session request.
Then I would like to, if possible, move the mayor and council concerns before our closed session.
Oh.
Perfect. And would someone like to make a motion to approve with those changes?
You said 9.6, is that what you said?
9-6.
I'll make a motion to approve those changes.
All right, I've got a motion from Dave. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Dan. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, we will move on to item number 4. It's the public forum. This is an opportunity for citizens to present items to council that are not on the agenda. Each presentation is limited to 3 minutes and a maximum of 15 minutes will be set aside. If your item needs follow-up from the city, staff will arrange time for that. If you'd like to come forward for public forum, please make your way up to the podium, and state your name and address. I'll ask again, if anybody would like to step forward for public forum, please make your way to the podium.
If something is on the agenda, I just saw everyone talking about the meeting types and dates. There's still mentioned something with more or.
It's on the agenda, so we can discuss it then, because I think there's gonna be open discussion. Yeah, thank you, Eric.
Thank you. All right, anybody else interested in coming forward for public forum? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 5, public hearings, presentations and correspondence, and we have Lee from 320 Brewing.
That's still here.
Yep.
So my name is Lee Ingram. I'm the new owner of the brewery in town. I really enjoyed taking that over. My summer was a blast. I would really like to keep the brewery in downtown for as long as possible. But in order to do that, I need to start making some changes. One of those is to request a lower water rate. Over half of my water that goes into the building is used for brewing. I have previously requested a separate meter that goes into my brewing area. I have not heard that set request. Right now I'm paying for water that comes in, I have the sewer. Like I said, most of it goes into brewing stuff. And like one of our regulars said last week, I haven't used the bathroom here in 6 years. I'm trying to pay for my sewer. It is common practice in other cities and towns to have a commercial water rate, and not pay the same as residents. So that is why I'm requesting for pretty much small businesses in town who use the city water if they can get access to a different rate, than residents pay. Yeah, pretty sure it's I wrote a letter on the water bill, getting the support of other small businesses and restaurant owners. And yeah, that's the news. Yeah. It's not big.
Perfect, thank you. Does anybody from council have questions for Lee when he's up there?
No, I thank you for the information and putting it together, sincerely.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Well,
The staff put together a comparison of
gonna-
rates. Would you like a copy of it?
Sure.
For your records? think there's like 5 other cities in there, so, yeah.
I got just one comment, I guess. When I first heard this, I asked that we do some comparisons, and it makes sense to do that. Over the years, I can remember a dozen, maybe 2 dozen times where people have come forward and asked for the same request. We always did comparisons. I think, maybe we haven't done a lot of shopping lately and we need to look at that. Would this go through ordinance or part of the fee schedule, right? Was that where it would originate?
Does the studies every so
Right.
many years, and then that's implemented into the fee schedule, which we
Okay.
do run
But-
the ordinance.
But the ordinance goes through the fee schedule. I guess I would entertain a motion that we send this back to ordinance to review that. And whether we change it or we don't change it, at least let's look at it and do some comparisons. I think it's only fair. One thing about doing business, and I guess I haven't been in business for many years, but I understand there's certain costs that you have and you're not gonna get rid of them. And things go up. Electricity goes up, gas goes up, water goes up. And we need to look at this. Are we in the ballpark? Are we in business to keep business here, I guess is what I'm saying. So that would be my motion, that we send this back to ordinance to review this and hopefully in the next month or so.
Right, so we've got a motion from Dave to send it back to ordinance. Do we have a second?
I would second that motion.
And a second from Dan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carried.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, let's move on to item number 6 on the agenda. These are committee reports. 6.1 is the library committee report.
Oh, I guess I can update real quick. We meet every other month and, concerns for lighting in the parking lot. We had staff go by and it seemed light to them. I believe Brockton should change some light bulbs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in January, Brock updated some lights there, or to see if that improved it in their opinion. Otherwise, the room rentals has been going smoothly. There's really it wasn't too much to update on that.
All right, then we'll move on to 6.2 ordinance review committee. I sat in at the last ordinance review because it was Mary Kay's last meeting. So we discussed the public art crosswalks and things like that. And also started looking at some of the fee schedule items. And that was pretty much the majority of that meeting. Then we would move on to 6.3 Parks and Rec Committee update.
I don't think you had any council members present, did you?
Well,
Was there any updates from the park, that meeting?
I was discussing like on agenda.
Oh, that's right. They did discuss the park to rename it Lions to incorporate all the lions in town. And it's kind of what it's already been nicknamed anyways. So they put together a recommendation that is on the agenda.
That is on, okay, that is.
And then the next item would be 6.4, and that's liquor committee.
We had that this morning. Very good report. They're at the time I was there, they were mounting TV screen. I don't know what it's a monitor screen or something where they can do some joint advertising, with the Chamber of Commerce is going to help with that. I guess I'm right on that, am I? Yeah, okay. And there's going to be a major cooler reset February 3rd, I believe. Yeah. I should have took notes, but even at 70, I can remember some of this. Anyway, and that's a major thing. They'll have several of the brewery beer sellers there helping with that, and extra staff in the back doing the reset. It's on a Monday, so if you're plan on going there on Monday. There might be some confusion or that you'll just have to take what you can find laying on the floor. But, I think it'll go well. Other than that, it's, the same thing. It's been busy. They're limited. They do what they can with the space they have, and they seem to be doing a very good job of that with adjusting products and what sells and putting that out front. So did I miss anything? Okay.
Right, thank you, everybody. Next we move on to the consent items. Someone would like to make a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Motion from Dan, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Dan, second from Dave, all those in favor?
Can we have some
vote?
discussion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the only discussion I'd have is on the hire, Sam Sawicki. He's not here, is he? No.
No.
Is he working?
Yeah, he currently works in another city.
Oh, okay, so he doesn't, when does he start? That was my
Once
question.
February 3rd. Yeah, February 3rd is his first
Oh,
day.
okay, I was just curious
Yeah, and
about
he's
that, because I don't remember.
currently working in another city doing the same exact job, so he's gonna
Okay.
come in and
Step
No,
in,
he's
okay,
doing it.
okay, I wasn't sure about that, so I just wondered, okay, that was my only question.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll move on to old business. Let's move on to item number 8.1. This is city council meeting days and times. You want to start us off, Mercy, or?
so last meeting, there was a motion made to change our days to Wednesday, first and third Wednesday, 6 o'clock. We found out after the meeting that that is the exact same times as the school board. The three council members reached out to bring this back and rediscuss and talk about other time schedules that would work better.
Thank you. Council members.
Well, I guess, I guess sometimes things happen too fast, and maybe this happened too fast. Not gonna try to make excuses for how I voted. I'm very unhappy that I did vote that way. And I apologize to the staff for some of the stuff that was brought up. If I missed you, I'm sorry, but I thought I'd talk to everybody. But anyway, I'd like to make a motion to reconsider this and go back to the regular time for now. And after that, I would like to, second part of my motion would be that we send to ordinance, because it has to be an ordinance change, that we go to one meeting a month, starting at 6 o'clock, the first Wednesday. There would be no second meeting of the month unless we need to do a special session for works of whatever work we need to do, and no action to be taken unless we need to call an emergency meeting, which is very easy to do. I've done several, so that's not a hard process. But I think we've shown that we can condense our work into one time. If we do end up with a longer agenda, I would be in favor of putting a break in there at some point so everybody can get a glass of water or hit the bathroom and get back to work. And that's my motion.
All right, so the motion from Dave on the floor is to switch meeting times back to as they are for now and work towards a one meeting a month with adding a second in if needed.
If needed, yeah.
Oh, I gathered that. All right. Do I hear a second to that motion? Hearing none, that motion fails. Are there any other thoughts from council? I think Dave, you and I had chatted about this, that it might be nice to send out a survey and see when folks are available for the meeting, see what times work best. I've been back and forth on the fence of one meeting and two meetings, and I think based on the workload right now, that two meetings does make more sense to help spur on development and things within our community. I think we have enough things on the agenda that can keep us busy. So I guess I would entertain, or I would make a motion that we continue on our current meeting path for now and send a survey out for 60 days to gather some insights from the community. And see what times work best for our members of our community.
But Ken, how's that? I mean, I forgot that part. I was gonna bring that up too about the survey, but, and I forgot that part that I was gonna talk about that. But, as far as, that your motion doesn't do anything with what was the action that was taken last month. We passed a motion that we would go to 6, 2 nights during the month. So unless you revoke that, how do we change anything, even though that has to go to ordinance? So I don't know, looking for direction. What kind of I mean, I guess it's up to Kent, it's his motion.
Well, you're both requesting the same thing, basically, that we go back to what we had. And then put out a survey to see what
Right.
the community likes and then figure out if we need the 1 or 2 meetings a month.
Well, we'll have the full council hopefully here at that time, so we can hash this out, but if that's your motion, I would
I guess
agree with that.
for clarification, I would
Yeah.
like to move back to the first Wednesday and the second Thursday, a morning and evening meet, or an evening and morning meeting for now. Until we collect results from
With the previous set times we
with
had.
the previous times that we had set.
Yeah, and we did learn while we've been updating the years of ordinances, we did find out that our council meetings are set by ordinance. So we would have to do an ordinance to change our schedule.
Sure.
They don't necessarily have to be done that way, but that's the way it was set up. So you can we could reverse that too, so that also can be part of the
Sure.
the conversation. Cause I'm not exactly sure that that's a good idea to have it as an ordinance. Because then if you do change a meeting date because of a holiday or something, you're actually breaking your ordinance. So we need to get rid of that. That's ridiculous. I don't know who put that in there, but that's not good.
All right, do we need clarification on my motion again, or is someone going to make a second on that?
I'll second that.
Great, so a motion by Kent and a second by Dave. All those in favor, please signify.
I did have discussions.
Oh, absolutely.
Council about overlap with the school board, as a journalist, I can look at this one time, so. Speaking of journalist and stuff in the community, there are a lot of big people from the school board, as well at the state level, and just a vehicle speaking to this.
Well, they changed theirs to the first and the third, or what?
Wednesdays.
One week a month is their work session meeting, and then the third one a month is their regular meeting.
So you necessarily wouldn't go to the work session, right?
Typically, unless there's something on there that.
Yeah. So the third, if we change, because we're on a Thursday and not a Wednesday, if we go back to what we were. So I know we should be okay for you then, and then if we do change whatever, I think we're gonna try to avoid it, so. I appreciate your input, I really do.
The third Wednesday, being regular meetings to kind of get there.
But your boss told me you could do anything. He told me that you could handle it, so I don't understand. I don't understand where the problem.
Many phone calls regarding this, so.
Yeah, okay.
All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, just to echo what Mr. Hill said, if I would have known things would change, I would have voted a little bit differently. For me, it's, my goal with meetings and meeting days and times is to get as much public involvement as possible, because that's what these are for. And speaking to people over the last few years, that seems to be a recurring theme, is that the daytime meeting is hard to attend, it's not very well attended. So that was my impetus for my vote. And I think it's a great idea to figure from the community what the best timeframes would be, because I know there's a lot of feedback there too. So, and I definitely think with where we're at as a municipality, coming off of what survival mode for the last year with what we have in front of us, that we need to stay on a 2-meeting schedule. And if they finish up early, I think great. And if we can look at maybe scaling back from there, I completely agree. But I think right now, we've got quite a bit in front of us. That's really exciting.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
All right, any further comment? Maury, go ahead.
Was it the first Wednesday and third Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same times.
Same
Same
time.
time.
Yeah.
For
Our
the
previous times and, yep.
Wednesday night meeting and then 10 a.m. for the Thursday.
Because what I understand, we couldn't change it without ordinance change anyway, so we have to go back to
We
6:30.
saw that afterwards, yeah.
All right, so that's the motion on the floor is to go back to the times. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, let's move on to item number 8.2. This is Public Works front end loader financing update.
Nicole?
As you know, we are financing the loader. This resolution is the certificate that we have to do through bond council in order for us to finance any capital.
Purchases.
Yes. So that's what this is on for today. It's for 86, I have it in front of me, 86,500 the total for the financing for it. That includes the expenses that it costs for us with bond council dollars. I think it's like 7,050. It's on page 1 of the part of it. Shoot, there's the document that was on my phone. We will be closing on this on February 4th. So we'll have more documentation for the next council meeting. This is just a resolution to move forward so that we can get our vendor paid for this.
What's the resolution number? Because I don't see it.
2025-08.
Go down a third of the page, kind of in the center, about a third way down. Front page. Front page,
I gotta get to the front page.
very first page.
There's a few pages in there.
No, this actually, front page. Turn, go to the beginning.
I thought it was in three.
It's
Just
a
give me
separate
the-
one.
025-0.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept 2025-08.
Right, we've got a motion from Dave. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Dan. This is a resolution, so this will be a roll call vote. Dave.
Yes.
Dan. Yes. And I will also vote yes. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to new business. Item number 9.1, I've got contracted mutual aid between Rush City and Pine City.
Okay, so at the previous council meeting, I had brought forth the new rates. They, Rush City and our rates last year did not match. We had a set rate, they had a set rate. Pine City did use the DNR rates. Our rates were substantially lower. Rush City has brought their rates in line with ours, which council approved those. Now there's two things going on. They have asked to extend the previous year's contract through April 1. So we have time to discuss our mutual aid. So their council has already approved that extension and it's up for council to decide if they want to sign that as well.
When's the original maturity date of the contract?
December 31 of 2024, it expired.
So currently we don't.
Well, I think we expressed, in the meetings that we had, that we wanted to make sure that we had a contract, and I thought we did. I think the equal charges makes sense. So I would be in favor of approving this without.
The only question I have is how do we track 3 free mutual aid fire calls for each city during the contracted mutual aid contract? How do we track that? Per event, is it a dollar amount? Is it?
That's where if you have 3 flat rate calls, it's a fee. Yeah, we have them up for the rest.
Okay. That's something that is,
Well, that's their proposal anyway, Dan.
They're
Yeah.
requesting this.
They're requesting that. That's not part of their contract.
They're currently asking two things. The first thing was just to extend the current mutual aid agreement that did expire at the end of last year through the 1st of April,
Okay.
so that they can have another meeting in February to possibly, do their final tweaks and work out final tweaks that they want, their tweaks is free. But that could be decided, I guess, at a later date.
Okay.
And I think they wanted one more meeting in there, so they just want an extension through, April 1st, as it was written last year.
Oh, there was talk, Dan, partially, that there was gonna be some new council members on both councils. So, and even possibly Rock Creek has, I think, had one new member. And so the talk was that maybe with the new councils, they could hammer something out that would be more permanent, but who knows? As time will tell that. But
Yeah.
that was kind of the reasons for only going to April that I understood anyway.
I understood too from the meetings we sat in on.
And with this extension to April, it would not include any free calls.
No,
It's
that's,
a continuation of what we currently have with them.
well, they'd love it if we said we wanted to do that, but we're not gonna do that at this time. I'm not gonna.
All right, any further discussion from council members, or would someone like to make a motion to approve? Did you make a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the contract extension to the 1st of April.
I'll second that.
All right, I've got a motion from Dan, a second from Dave. Although, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next we'll move on to 9.2 Parks and Rec Committee application from Michaela Thompson.
I actually think this could have, is Michaela here?
Yep.
Oh, see you.
There she is.
This actually, I'm thinking this could have gone on consent, but, Michaela came to City Hall and we discussed the event with, working with the Lions and Northern Lights Lions and the city to put this event. I've heard advertising on the radio. It sounds great. The flyers. Michaela, do you want to speak about this at all or?
Yeah, we're just gonna, it's gonna be like a winter festival, fun day in the park. Snowball fight at noon, also trying to do a food and clothing drive. I know a couple members of council have agreed to get snowballs thrown at them for a little fundraiser. Hot cocoa and marshmallows, and I just hope it's a really like community building and just fun day, something to do in January when there's not a lot to do outside.
Where would you like donations if, prior to the event? If someone wanted to donate like marshmallows or cocoa for the event, where would you like that brought?
You can always drop it off at the flower
Oh,
box.
sure.
And Lisa at the brewery.
Is there a charge for tossing snowballs at Dan, or is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Is there,
it's hefty.
it might be worth it. It might be.
Are they gonna wear mouth gear or a face mask or?
Stock of hockey masks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, darn.
Should have upped my insurance coverages.
Black eyes and missing a tooth. This will be a fun event.
Thank you, Michaela. And Michaela, after some pushing, decided that she would like to join our Parks and Rec Committee, so that is the application that's in front of us here.
I'm so sorry.
I'm glad we got to talk about it. Everybody should show up.
Meeting 101, yeah.
All right, would somebody like to make so the 9.2 would be Michaela's application to join the Parks and Rec Committee. Would someone like to make a motion to approve that?
Have you been to any committee meetings by chance?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the only question I have.
Well, I'll make a motion. There's nothing like jumping into your first meeting to learn, so.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'll make that motion that we accept her. I think she'll be a good addition.
All right, I've got a motion from Dave. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Dan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you for stepping up and joining the committee. It's, they only work because of volunteers and citizens that get involved. So honestly, thank you for stepping up. And I think you'll be a good addition to that committee. I really do.
Agree.
Thank you.
guys.
All right, next we will move on to item number 9.3, discussion on city IT services.
So about a year ago, not quite yet a year, we discontinued with our city IT and security systems and brought on Bombard Tech. This is prior to becoming appointed mayor. Through Burkhart, they did say that this is after 2024, we have a conflict of interest. So there's options. There is a conflict of interest form that can be done. The league has this form that would be filled out to allow this continuation. A lot of it has to do with pricing. And when we did bring on our current or last year's ITs, it was the lowest bid. We had put out for RFPs. We had over a dozen. I can't remember exactly. And it came in as the lowest. So went with that. And so now we're at a point where our IT services ended in December. And we need to decide if we want to continue with the conflict of interest form to continue the service, or if we want to go by as needed services, or we just invoice, have someone come do that repair and get invoiced, or do we want to look at having another set person for IT?
And I can give a little bit of background to this too, at least in my point of view. We have a lot of big projects that we've taken on towards the end of the year that are still in limbo or still working through that, with our fiber project being the primary driver here. My intentions of, if council wishes for me to stay on, is not long-term. It would be through the end of April. I've been working with Marcy, and I think we're working through rewriting the admin assistant position to add some IT duties onto that person to hopefully attract someone that can be in-house and take on some of those roles. And then I can step out of that role, because I coming this spring, I won't have time to dedicate to that, but just to get us through these projects for the next couple of months was my driver.
And I would expect by March even that the dark fibers will be completely settled by then. I believe with the agreement here, we have some amendments to make, but how to proceed.
I'm not in favor of not having a full-time IT
Right.
person. Being invoiced for service can, in my experience, when you're in those situations, you need IT support, you need it right stinking now. And if we're in an invoice situation, we cannot necessarily get serviced right stinking now. And that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, me too. I would not be in favor of that.
What kind of actions would you like council to take?
Wondering is council interested in us continuing through the settlement, like, let's say April 1 of, because I do believe we'll have that is kind of a big issue right now, getting this settled with the dark fibers and miscellaneous things in the office that still need to be taken care of, that we do the conflict of interest through March, or
Till April 1 or through April?
I can,
April 15 or
we could say the end of the month in April, that I would be comfortable with that.
okay.
It just, that last couple of weeks, I might be a little busy, so baby shows up early, but other than that,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And then we need to discuss if we're wanting to do RFPs again, or how, like, we could bring that to another meeting too. But are we interested in completing the conflict of interest form, which the league has that on there, and bringing that to the next February meeting?
Who approves that once it's made out? Who looks at that form? I mean, you say you got a form, but what does the form do? I mean, is it somebody?
Yeah, the form explains the conflict of interest, and then there's guidelines for meeting that conflict.
Oh,
And the form is actually on the League of Minnesota Cities.
okay,
And I would fill that form out and bring it back to council for you to review
okay.
with an end date of end of April.
I just, so that we're very transparent, that probably makes sense. Let's just do it that way. And Are the RFPs that were out, did we get any good responses? I think I remember you talking about it a little bit, but.
The second lowest one that came in is someone that, it does have a lot of municipalities along 35. And I chose to call those cities, and they were interested in seeing our results of RFPs because they were not happy with customer service. And when they're a very persistent company, and they called, and I let them know that. I said, I did call your other cities and they don't care for your customer service. So they actually appreciated that. They wanted to know which cities I called, and I'm like, yeah, you can figure that out. It was enough to make me concerned that you're not the right one.
Has there been enough time since we sent those RFPs to go for more RFPs on that, or for a new round of them?
I have to look into that. I'm not sure.
That's my only concern.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm pretty sure.
because if,
It's in last word.
are they expired?
Cause I would think a three-pronged approach would work, where we're doing the consent letter while we're looking for RFPs and developing the AA position plan to include some IT stuff, because I think all three are gonna be necessary to be successful moving forward. And with you being in the loop for, a short amount of time in this capacity, we can use your professional expertise to help with the transition and develop what might need to move forward.
Yes, and I'm more than happy to help guide the process, and if we find a rock star that we can bring on for that admin assistant position that's more than capable, I'm absolutely comfortable lending that contract earlier than April 31st or whatever works best for the city. I just want to make sure that we're covered and we have service in our projects.
So for clear direction, I will bring back completed conflict of interest form to the next agenda. And
I would make a motion that we send out for RFPs again for a new IT provider with the conflict of interest form. And I think that would be two parts of the motion. The other part is an ongoing project with the position plan job description development. So
Okay.
I don't know if that needs motionable action or not.
I don't think so. Would that, Melanie, would you think so? I wouldn't think so. I'll second your motion, Dan. That's good.
All right, I've got a motion from Dan and a second from Dave. Is there any further discussion on this? All right, because this directly impacts me financially, I must abstain from voting. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, next we'll move on to item number 9.4, Mid-Continent Communications and City of Pine City Dark Fiber IRU Agreement.
okay, so Kent and I have been working very closely with Midco. They've come back through their legal with the agreement and the proposal with the contract. I then sent it to the League of Minnesota Cities Contract Department, and they did have a couple issues, which I forwarded to you, regarding, one of their clauses stated confidentiality. However, we are a city entity and we cannot not disclose this information. So they wanted that part cleaned up, and also they made a request that we put on an additional, I can't remember, was it, the additional umbrella policy for insurance? I forgot the dollar amount, but it was substantial, it was like 5 million. So I've been talking with our insurance company. They actually didn't think that was a necessary item to have on this agreement. So with your approval, I'm gonna go back to Midco and say that those two items we want amended on the contract. And then I should be able to bring it back to the February council meeting.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
And a little bit of history for this IRU and this project that we're talking about is in the early 2000s, when 61 was redone, the city paid to have fiber optic cables installed along Highway 61 up to Airport Road, up to the Public Works buildings to interconnect all of the city buildings. At that point in time, and as up until this point, current point in time, the city owns those fiber optic cables and the conduits that run within them. This agreement is to sell that conduit, sell those fibers to Midco. Midco has been maintaining them for free for us.
They've also been paying the city $6,000 every year as a rental fee.
And what we're coming up against now is those fibers in the ground are 20+ years old. They're nearing end of life. So we would be either looking at, if we retained ownership of those, we'd be looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars to just replace what's in there. The offer on the table for Midco was to buy us out and offer us a 20-year IRU to give us access to the fibers that we have now. For 20 years, and then they will maintain, it'll be just their network versus being the Pine City network.
And the people that reviewed the contract on behalf of the city said it was a very good offer. It looked out for the city, and just those two issues were of concern, so.
And that was 86,000 or what?
$86,000, and then we'll have a 20-year, us as well as the county will have a 20-year access to this as well.
So basically, they want the underground infrastructure so that they can pull new fiber through.
That's
Exactly.
about what his mouth.
Rather than having to rip up the road again to.
Right.
pull the fibers.
And then in the presentation, it was funny, they have like, was it Minnesota, South Dakota, or the Dakotas, and maybe Iowa, and this is the only section they don't own. So they, yeah, they wanted it.
And with Midco's ownership, that will bring in a little bit more functionality to the network, as in they will be able to monitor if the fibers go down and things like that. Right now, there's one end that plugs in the server room in this building and another end that plugs in a device at the fire hall. So it is, if there's a break in the middle of that fiber, or if there's intermittent issues, we're calling Midco out and they're sending trucks and they're running all the tests, whereas we could probably get we would be able to get a lot more immediate results letting Midco manage that infrastructure for us. Did you need a motion to approve this, or do we want to make the changes, or do you still?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you read through this, you saw the recommendations, those two recommendations asking Midco to change. And I feel like we have plenty of time to get this done for the next council meeting, if that's okay.
Perfect.
Okay. That's all.
All right, then we will move on to item number 9.5, designate Woodpecker Ridge Park to Lions Park.
And Brock Blomquist is here for that item.
Hey, so at our first meeting, we talked about, naming the park. All our parks have names. For some reason, that park doesn't, and I've lived here my whole life, and I've always known it as Lions Park. I didn't think that neighbors that designated it as Woodpecker Ridge. It's just locally known as that. But I'd like to officially make that Lions Park. Lions, the groups around here do so much for the community. A lot of the gazebos are their work projects, a lot of the parks are because of what they've done and give to us. So it'd be nice to make that park officially known as Lions Park, and the groups around this community can put in money to that park. So recently I asked the Lions, or I went to the Lions meeting, the Pine City Lions, and they agreed to donate $11,500 to improve the park. That went towards some new swings, an ADA swing, a little playground with a slide, and some paint for the stuff that basically give it a nice fresh renovation. I recently purchased new border because the border is shot and it's slippery when wet, splintering, so I'm gonna be reaching out to the other Lions to see if we can get mulch instead of sand. Puts in a litter box, and so yeah, I'd like to officially name it Lions Park. We put it in the ARPA thing to get a new sign for that park, and attached is the
the mock-up that I was given. Signed. Person that we with their,
Is it attached with this? I don't see. Oh, okay, it's not on here.
but it's just a regular first sign, it's a little park. Okay. I think it looked really nice next to the, on the corner, by the flagpole, so.
So we need a proclamation for that the mayor has to make at the next council meeting. Just looking for, I know you were looking for something to do.
Whatever needs to be done.
Well, I think you almost gotta do some kind of
Yeah,
a official thing.
yeah, I think that would be
I
great.
think it's a good, it's nice to see the groups that are back working with the city. And
It is,
we went through a terrible time there when I first got on the council, and
yeah.
I was really disappointed because we had a lot of relationships were damaged, but I think they've really come a long way, so kudos to those people for stepping up and,
Brock and I have had multiple meetings with
Yeah.
them and they were excited to be contributing to the city like this. It's been fun to watch.
right. And thanks for your hard work, Brock. I appreciate that.
So would we entertain a motion today to do the renaming and move on in the future for something more public if we would like to? Perfect.
I'll make that motion.
All right, I've got a motion from Dave. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Dan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I,
Those opposed, that motion carries. Thanks, Brock.
Thank you, Brock.
Thank you, Brock. All right, next we will move on to item number 9.6, and I never finished writing down what 9.6 was.
Pond Meadows feasibility report and joint work session request. I asked to have this added, because at the HRA and EDA committee meetings this week, there was a presentation made, with the feasibility report, and requests for joint work sessions between EDA, HRA, and city council. And my own personal feeling and opinion was that this shouldn't have come as a surprise to me. And I think that we need to talk about it because if we have requests for joint council meetings, we need to make sure for our schedules that we have representation there. Moreover, for me is the lack of communication between the office responsible for this information and the municipality itself. I don't know how we fix that communication loop. This is a pretty, I don't know if you've had a chance to read through the feasibility analysis or not, but it's a huge price tag. We have been advised by our financial people that we don't have bonding capacity for 2 to 3 years. Which is all part of it, and I understand that, but I just think there needs to be some more robust conversation around this. That's why I asked to have it added to the agenda. Because as it stands now, there's dates and times for work session dates, so I think we should at least discuss that. That's what I got.
And I don't know, I can pull up the dates here that were brought up at HRA and EDA.
So what was published is February 5th before council, February 18th after HRA, February 20th before council, and February 26th after EDA. That was what was published. I don't know what was decided on.
At EDA, they came to, because the 26th would be the next EDA meeting as well, and that's what seemed like was selected at EDA was because HRA also put in their vote, they gave 2 and then EDA brought it down to 1. So I believe what's going to be presented to you is that 26th.
Okay.
well, I think Dan, you hit the head on with the hammer pretty hard. And you know, this has been a problem since that place was even thought about. And I can remember back to, you know, they thought, the council at that time thought they had a really good thing with a $250,000 bond protection. That was a joke. Lawyers ate that up in a few minutes. We got a development that people that are buying places there, and I've talked to several that came to me after I got on the council, wanted to get their street accepted and stuff. You know, they had no concept of what was going on there when they bought that. I don't understand when people buy things, they don't check things out. But I'll tell you what, there's a bunch of them up there that never did. And that doesn't make them bad people. It's just that a lot of us just take everything for granted. We've got a nucleus there, but we've got property to the north, south, east, and west that could be developed, and it's gonna take a lot of money, like you said. I mean, tons of money. I think this is something, you know, I haven't set the date in stone yet, but this is, you know, when we go down every year, the league and the other organizations that we belong to meet with the legislature. I think this is an important time when a couple of us need to go down and lobby for some money to help on a project like this, just like we did with Maury and with the lagoons out there and the repairs, that hopefully we get funding for that. I think this is another one that is such a major thing and a cost that our city cannot handle and probably never will be able to for years. I mean, we know it'll be 2-3 years before we could bond for anything, and I don't even know if we'd be even close to what that's gonna require. So,
Cause it's currently at just under 10 million.
right.
10.3.
And I'm frankly ashamed that we let it get to this point. I can't believe that the councils, after that, all that mess happened, never just kept kicking the can down the road. And I know I'm good at that, but I'm not that good at it, what they did. And I'm really thinking, you know, we don't owe these people anything because it's not all our problem up at the council here. But we did let this happen, the city, and we are in power now. So now we got to find a way to make it work. And if it's going down to the Capitol and complimenting people, so maybe they'll vote for us. I don't know, but we got to do something. And that's where I want to start. So I'm done.
Because there's through meetings with staff that I've had, there's other financial commitments that we're gonna have to have a plan.
Well, yeah.
To pay back ahead of time. It's housing is a dire need.
And I think that's a good time to lobby for it.
Absolutely. And I think that there is enough different interest in this community about that property. That different things might be able to be called forward. But what I don't want to have happen is the city end up being the bad guy in this situation, because we just literally don't have the ability to bond or pay for this project. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that I don't want us to end up being the bad guy. I want to be solutions oriented and try to figure a way through this. But at this point in time, it might as well be $100 million. We just, there's not a capacity to do it.
I do think it's a good idea to start meeting somewhere and build a plan that we can all work through together, because right now we've got now 3 different EDA and HRA both working on the housing goals of expanding our housing in our community. That council that wants to expand housing in our community. I think meeting and starting a plan, starting a process, though we don't have the money for it, if we walk into it saying, you walk into the store knowing you don't have any money to buy something, you're just looking for ideas. I think we can look at it that way. Maybe we can get creative with our funding from the state and other agencies, but I do believe that we do need to, these meetings will be valuable as to shaping the future of that community. And it's something that definitely needs to be addressed and looked at. Finances aside.
Wasn't my understanding of this feasibility report and analysis and paying for it was to simply gather the information. To have the information so that the city could own it. And it seems to me like we have jumped way past gathering the information piece, and that we're making commitments to certain developers or certain entities that are involved in the process when it's supposed to be a fact-finding mission. That's part of it for me.
Who would be doing that? We haven't had anybody in that position. Well, I guess we do have, directly have someone that. So, okay.
Again, there's just a couple things that that are concerning. And then most of that is communication and how it just is all coming to be. That being said, do we have the work session dates that have been agreed to so that we can discuss and?
I don't believe it's been brought to council. I attended EDA, HRA. As of EDA yesterday, it was narrowed down to that 26th of February, but it has not been presented to council as to what dates work best for you.
What day is that on?
Wednesday.
That'd be a Wednesday.
So just one of these dates, it's not all four? Or,
At EDA, they said that would be the day for them. So, there wasn't a second option. HRA gave two. One, I believe, was after HR. No, that one didn't work. HRA gave two. EDA has one option, and you haven't been given an option yet.
so one of them that was picked is before the next council meeting. That wasn't one that was selected? Or we don't know? Because one of the dates is Wednesday, February 5th at 3:30 before the council meeting.
I don't see where there's anything wrong with that.
No, I'm just making sure that we're aware of it and can put it on our calendars if that's a date that we need to be here at 3:30 instead of
Right.
6:00.
Well, we need to lobby the rest of the council to find out what their opinion is, because they might not be able to be available at that time.
Right.
I think it's the easiest action at this point in time to have Marcy reach out and gather the information from the previous meetings and maybe send an email out or bring it back to the next council meeting so we
I
can.
think that makes sense.
Because time is going quickly, so I can get this out this week for sure, just because you want to know what works in your schedule. Okay.
Thank you. Perfect. All right. We moved items number 12 and 13 to prior to 11. So first of all, did anybody have any questions for 10.1 financial review expense report?
I don't.
All right. Then we'll move on to item number 12, the mayor's report, and I just wanted to echo Michaela earlier, speaking about the Winterfest this weekend. It's a joint partnership with the city and the Northern Lights Lions. There's gonna be a snowball fight and hot cocoa and some s'mores. It'll be a great time. You can come throw some snowballs at me if you see fit, and Dan and some other local
You were the other one on there. Huh?
Yep, some other local government officials too. So
You gotta warm up.
I think, yeah, what did you come up with a pricing, like $1 a snowball or
Yeah, I think we were gonna do $1 snowball or $5 for a full minute.
Whoa.
Snowballs. Make it last. Make it last.
Nice mushy one.
I mean,
So that face screen won't do any good.
$5.
All right, that's all I have for the mayor's report. Item number 13, health number concerns.
Go ahead then. I think we said everything at the beginning. I don't think we need to say anything.
All right. Okay, so at this point in time, we will move into closed session.
With a bathroom break.
Yes, we can take a
Oh,
break.
sure.
That was pretty good, less than an hour.
Can I make a request to put